Pelosi versus MNUCHIN. In 7 days from now, could the MNUCHIN factor of Pelosi-MNUCHIN be gone? Could Pelosi be forced to negotiate with someone other than Steve Mnuchin starting 7 days from now? Donald Trump doesn't think so, but it's a stark reality that Nancy Pelosi didn't bet for. And ultimately, would it help to get your stimulus relief? And could it change the whole landscape of where we are? Big developments today as the Senate races tighten and the future of Pelosi-Mnuchin isn't balanced. This is Afternoons LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Yuri. You're here, but the question is, where will Steve Mnuchin be come next Tuesday? Now, he's not leaving anywhere. He's not going anywhere. The president remains in office until the end of his term. But if President Donald Trump does not get reelected, Steve Mnuchin will not be negotiating with Nancy Pelosi much longer. And additionally, if President Donald Trump does get reelected and the Senate remains GOP, Steve Mnuchin may also still not be the negotiator. What's going on? If you don't know, go to the Voice channel, subscribe, because I'm going to break it down to you for you and make it easier than, I don't know, easier than something better. And then also like this video. Liking the video is really helping today because the videos are appearing higher in the algorithm so that UFOs who stole your stimulus check are not getting really much flight anywhere. In this video, I will be going over why the Mnuchin factor for the Pelosi versus Mnuchin negotiation for your second stimulus has ultimately been a problem. It's been as much a problem as Nancy Pelosi herself, because there's a lot of problems that are erupting with Mnuchin behind the scenes that people aren't telling you, except me. And those problems could go away next Tuesday if both President Trump wins and also if President Trump loses. So let me get to the breaking news. The breaking news as we sit here tonight is that President Donald Trump is doing everything in his capability to get GOP leaders in the Senate reelected. He's not working against them. He's been very good on campaigning for his party since day one, when he thinks that they work in his benefit and are, honest and consistent people he doesn't like, he doesn't campaign for. And so the Senate races are very tight right now, and the turn of the corner is being made by the GOP amidst initial belief that the GOP was going to lose the Senate to the Democrats overwhelmingly. Now they're making a big push to take it back. Well, what about Pelosi versus Mnuchin? Mnuchin singularly has been the only voice for the Republican Party to negotiate your second stimulus since May. The first stimulus package involved a lot of people, not just two people negotiating the stimulus of the first stimulus package. The second one, for reasons I don't know, that predates this channel, the Democrats elected Nancy Pelosi and the Republicans elected Steve Mnuchin as the two voices to negotiate. And Steve Mnuchin has not done his service. I'll explain to you right now why. First, GOP leaders in the Senate say that Steve Mnuchin regularly does not debrief them. They don't know what's going on. Second, they don't know what's going on until they read it in broadcast news or will tune into this channel. Third, they think that he does not take any consideration as to what they want in any of the negotiation. He only does what the president wants. And ultimately, the legislators are the ones that pass laws, not the president, and the Senate members are not happy with Steve Mnuchin. Next, Steve Mnuchin is an outsider. He's not a person of Washington. He came to Washington from Wall Street for the Trump administration. He's never been in Washington before. He's never been a senator or a House member. So he's seen as an outsider to longtime GOP leaders in the Senate who've been there for 20, 30, 40 years. They don't know him. They don't deal with him. They have no history with him. And to make it worse, he's keeping them out of the woods. He's keeping them out of the loop. They don't know what's going on. So what does this mean? It means that if Mnuchin was not negotiating with Nancy Pelosi, everything would be different. There could potentially be multiple Republican negotiators with Nancy Pelosi. There could be multiple bodies of people negotiating with Nancy Pelosi. There could be House Republicans and Senate Republicans. It could be a lot more people. Why is this important for your stimulus? Because ultimately, the problem with the stimulus packages have been that nowhere during this path has the president ever put into the Senate, with Senate cooperation, a bill that the president wants. Now, the confusion of this, I understand, abounds. Let me explain. Normally, a legislator in the Congress writes a bill. A senator writes a bill. A House member writes a bill. The thing that makes this different this time around is the president is using a cabinet member in his cabinet to negotiate for stuff for the Senate and not having the Senate write a bill that mirrors that. He's never had Steve Mnuchin sit down and write a bill and give it to someone in the Senate and say, here's my bill, this is what I'm offering Nancy Pelosi. I offered Nancy Pelosi $10, she rejected it, go write a bill exactly repeating what I say. He never did it. It doesn't make sense why they never did it. Instead, what he did was he sat back and had other people, Mitch McConnell, write 3 bills, which never mirrored what Steve Mnuchin was doing. It was counterintuitive. So, what could happen next Tuesday is the following. First, if Donald Trump is not reelected, then there may be a contested race. I'm leaving the contested race out of this taping because it makes the situation too confusing to report. If Donald Trump loses next week, he may not give you a stimulus package because ultimately he doesn't want to give a stimulus package to Joe Biden. He's like, have Joe Biden do his own stimulus package. Of course, any president would do that. They're not going to help the next president. So Steve Mnuchin will no longer be involved in negotiating with Nancy Pelosi. Second, if that happens and the president loses, then under all circumstances, the number one GOP leader in the country is Mitch McConnell. Yes. It doesn't matter if the Senate falls to the Democrats. Doesn't matter if the Senate remains Republican. The number one GOP leader in the country is Mitch McConnell. He's going to be reelected. We just don't know if the Senate's going to stay Republican. It's Republican domination. So suddenly Nancy has to negotiate with Mitch. She doesn't want to do it. In May, she says, I don't want to negotiate with him and I forbid him from the negotiations. She actually said that. She can no longer do that because he would be the negotiator, not Steve Mnuchin. Next, if the president wins re-election, then, ironically, Steve Mnuchin would still negotiate despite what happens to the Senate. I know this sounds so confusing. But if the Senate goes either way, it doesn't matter because President Trump is still around and his chief negotiator is still around. Finally, if Joe Biden and his party, the Democrats, win both the House, the Senate, and the White House, they do a complete sweep of all 3 bodies. Guess what? Steve Mnuchin is no longer involved in the negotiation. Guess what? Mitch McConnell is no longer his party no longer controls the Senate. And guess what? Joe Biden's in office. Ultimately, it's Nancy Pelosi's highway. It's her way and it's the highway because she will write a bill. It'll go to the Senate. It'll be rubber stamped by the Senate because it's her party, and it'll go to Joe Biden's desk. That's where the situation is unfolding today. But what could happen? I'm not here to predict election results. I've said that a lot on this channel. I'll say it every single day. I'm not going to sit back and predict this person's going to win, that person's going to win. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to tell you how you get stimulus and how to get stimulus under all the different scenarios. And what's important to understand is that a new report today by CNBC says that Joe Biden now has 11 percentage point lead over Donald Trump, and that Biden is extending his lead 2 more points since just a few weeks ago. Of course, this is the national polls. It doesn't take into account to the Electoral College. The poll has a margin of error of 3.5%, which is sort of crazy. It's just like 3.5. I just have a margin of error of like 20%. Found that Biden has drawn even with Trump in support from senior citizens and white women, 2 groups the president won in 2016. But it also shows a substantial part of Biden's lead drawn from new voters and young voters in 2 groups whose turnout has long been suspect in the elections. This is where Trump's battleground will be, young voters. Many are uncertain as to whether young Trump voters will come out in the last 7 days. It comes, and ironically, that's what I'm about to read. I did not prepare that. Jay Campbell, partner at Hart Research Associates, who served as a Democrat pollster in the survey, says it comes down to the younger voters and the non-2016 voters. So these are people who never voted before. If they do not turn out in substantial numbers, it makes it a ton closer. Basically, if you have low voter turnout, and you do not have young voters turning out, then it's a toss-up. If you do not recall, in the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton had a problem getting young voters out. They did not come out at the amount that she wanted, and she had a low voter turnout across the board. This time around, Joe Biden is trying to change that with incredible grassroots efforts to get younger voters and new voters out. So it's changed the composition of the electorate in a way that he's driving turnaround among white non-college grads and probably in the Midwest and rural areas of swing states, says a new report today. There's a whole thing, if you're on Twitter this afternoon, talking about Texas. Texas's tweet is trending this afternoon on Twitter with a report that Texas may go Democratic for the first time in, a gazillion years. Ultimately, I'm not one to sit back and talk about this because I really don't care. What I want to talk about is your stimulus. And that ultimately, Pelosi and MNUCHIN's problems involve not only Pelosi, but MNUCHIN, because he did not come up early enough in the negotiations. He stayed down too low. Second, he didn't solve the state and local problem early on. Now at the 11th hour last week, he said, you know what, state and local, I can put guardrails on it and ensure the money goes to COVID-19 issues if we give state and local. He could have done that the very first week. He waited too long to deal with such circumstances, and ultimately it hurt him, and it hurt Trump. Let me get to some incredible questions and comments from yesterday. Carlita, she's paid herself in a corner because she didn't want to do a deal. I don't think the president wanted to do a deal either. I just don't buy it. I don't think either side wanted to do a deal before this election. Sema Gloflan, the longer she refuses to sign, the worse it gets for her, just saying. I think it's hurting both sides. I think it's just hurting everyone. Ronnie, just a suggestion, let's push for term limits. Amen. Daniel, anyone who votes for McConnell needs serious mental therapy. Doreen, like I said many times, what goes around and comes around. Patricia, Pelosi's best bet would be to agree with the Republicans to the 1.9 and get it done. Yes. What I forgot to say in this video is that ultimately Pelosi may see that 1.9 offer go poof. She may see it go poof because ultimately MNUCHIN may be gone and that offer would no longer be on the table. Downcastle, the Democrats will probably need 60 seats in the Senate to push their agenda. They can't get around McConnell. Well, they can get around McConnell if they don't need 60 seats. I think it's like 6 seats or 5 seats. Laura, it seems Pelosi needs to look in the mirror. She has no friends. It's a little tough there. Andy, if he lives long enough, he looks into The Walking Dead. Mitch and Nancy are prime examples of why I'm an independent. Both of them are worthless. People are not holding back their comments. So as you sit here today, Nancy Pelosi's hope to do it her way or the highway may ultimately fall apart if the Senate remains GOP. If that happens, then you won't see a $2.2 trillion bill. You won't see a $3.4 trillion bill. You'll see a much smaller bill. And you may see deal provisions entirely different, which is actually good for the purple power. Gone will be state and local, and in there could be more stimulus checks, hazard pay, more FPUC, more money for the things that's supposed to be spent on, not on states and governments and salary raises. It's with that we understand the situation a little bit clearer tonight. Coming up next is Evening's LALATE. As always, go to the front of the channel, subscribe, because no one's going to get through this for you easier, clearer, and simpler than me. Also, like this video. Thank you for liking the videos today. Coming up next is Evening's LALATE. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay FLA for more.